Now, so here we are.
All right, and let's just make sure that other things are coming on.
Just setting up here, starting the stream. Welcome to the More About Jesus YouTube live event.
There we
Happens
go.
every 2 weeks.
We're live right there. I can see us on the screen.
Awesome.
Yeah. My camera on my computer looks fine, but on the stream I'm pretty orange. So I'll be playing the part of Donald Trump today. And are we ready?
I'm ready.
All right. In 3, 2, 1.
All right. Welcome to the More About Jesus podcast. This is season 2, episode 2. Now, I don't know if this is the best way to keep track of. I know some podcasts do seasons, or they just do episodes throughout their whole lifetime, so they can get up to level like 500 episodes or whatever. But I don't know. This is how I want to do it. Maybe I'm bad. Just tell me. Anyways, my name is Al Martins, and I'm here with my partner, as always, Daniel Dunbar.
I am Daniel Dunbar. Yes, I am Daniel Dunbar. And I am orange. I had my ring light blow up on me just as we started, so I had to grab another light, and it's casting somewhat of an orange shadow on me.
My Walmart one. No, it was Dollar Store. No, Giant Tiger. One of those kind of cheap stores. That's where I got mine. So I would expect it to blow up too.
This one was free. We got it through Brandy's Sipology tea thing. I was like,
Sipology tea thing?
Yeah, well, she does. She also sells Sipology teas.
Sip, like S? I thought I heard Z for a second there. Like
sip. not zip, sip.
Hey, why don't we call ZZ Top ZZ Top if Canada we say Z for...
Because they're American.
That's right.
If sort of like if you go over to like England or Ireland, they call it a zebra instead of a zebra for the animal.
Really? I never heard that.
That's weird.
That's bizarre.
Yeah, I work with an Irish person, and so I'm like, really? But that's okay.
I like the Irish.
Yeah.
So, what kind of week did you have? 2 weeks? I know mine were trash, so we're not going to go over that again because it's bad weather. My job is physical right now, and I feel old. But I've been making it through, so.
Yeah, well, that's good. Yeah, no, it's been it's slowed down quite a bit. It's warmed up, which is nice. So, we've been hitting like plus degrees for the last few days. But now we're going to head back into days of Arctic chill again and hitting minus 20 overnight or something like that. So yeah, so it's been kind of nice to have like a few days reprieve and get caught up with some stuff in the shop. But yeah,
it's just to keep you from losing hope.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
I had a theory about the weather. I don't know if I talked about that because they always show like weeks in advance it's going to get to zero, but then it never does. And I think that's like a law somewhere secretly written that says, okay, give them that because we don't know in 10 days what the weather's going to be. But if you just say up there it's going to be about probably +1 or maybe -1, we're like, can't wait.
+1 but in 5 days.
They know it'll probably never get there, but at least it gives us, we don't despair of life completely.
Yeah. It's like, it's going to be -30 for like 5 days, 5-6 days. Oh no, I'm just going to end it right now. Oh, but look, on the 6th day, it's going to be +1.
I'm pretty sure there was a sketch I saw with that, like on 22 Minutes or one of the Canadian comedy groups.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they talked about. The fact that they, let's bring out a +1 just for kicks and giggles.
Or Rick Mercer, maybe that's what it was. I think that's
it was something like that. Yeah, I saw that, and I'm like, yep, that's Canada. That's Canada right there, and that's our weather people. So, Yeah.
But if you're in the States watching or listening, sorry. You
Yeah,
might
yeah.
not get
Plus one
that
for you
joke.
guys is like really cold because you guys work in freedom units or whatever you want to call it.
Standard time. Yeah, I don't know who else uses Fahrenheit. I guess they're not the only people that, but I
Pretty
don't know.
much.
My brain's
That's why
still
that's why they
wrapped
call it
around that.
freedom units.
Oh, I never knew that.
Freedom units. Oh, I've heard some people saying freedom units.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, and yeah, so to continue off of what we had like 2 weeks ago, how have you been lightly salted this last 2 weeks? I mean, salt or light. Let's just call it. We
Lightly
have to be
salted,
lightly
salty, and
salted.
light.
Yeah, so that way, if we're being lightly salted for, you know,
My personal choices over the last few months have culminated into the point where I am only on Twitter. That's my only social media. For a while I tried TikToking, and I I was trying to be positive and stuff, but I keep getting sucked into the polarizing debates. Now I don't
mm,
participate in them, but there's a part of me that likes that. So the old version of me, what was the first, like, so we're talking pre-system reboot, Al. I was the first to comment when I didn't agree with you, or to point out your bad theology, or to
mm,
start a fight about a thing. And I've been slowly working my way away from that. And now I'm actually to the point, and it was a song by Rich Mullins called Brother's Keeper. I'll post it in our Discord, which you got to get in, by the way. But it's just an awesome song about his choice not to be the one who's judging his brothers and sisters.
yeah,
And so I just, for my own personal mental health, don't want to be a part of any of that anymore. So I know
mm,
there's arguments that are right and wrong on both sides of things, whether they're conservative or liberal, or whether they're theologically fundamentalist, or whether they're this or that. And I'm making the choice to not be a part of that anymore. I want to just be positive and be a light. That's it. And
ah,
maybe that's, I don't know. It's kind of, I'll admit it's hard for me because I can get sucked in. So for me, the feminism debate, or, the rights of women in the church and stuff, I want to jump in on that fight. But I'm
yeah, yeah,
actually feeling more and more like the people that believe what they believe aren't going to change based on what I say. Unless they come
yeah.
to me and ask me questions. What do you believe about this? I'm struggling with this. Let's
Mm.
talk. But no, I'm not going out of my way to try to, because I know for me the change didn't come from someone arguing at me. The changes in my life came from God kicking me in the teeth or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Because usually what happens, like when you're going up against somebody who is like that, and you're trying to change their minds, that's actually going to cement them further into their beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's that's what I found is that you met with this hard resistance, and it's like, you know what, maybe God has to work on both of us to try to figure out how to make this work, right? And that's totally fine.
And
That's totally fine.
the biggest admission is the need to be understood, or to be, like, that's a weakness in a sense. Because I want so much for you to get it the way I do.
Mm.
It makes so much sense to me. Why don't you see this? And it's like a need to be understood. Audrey Assad has a song about that Deliver Me, that's just so powerful. And she keeps listing all these things. And that's one of the things: from the need to be understood, deliver me, oh God. From the fear, those kind of things. It's like a insecurity
Mm.
that I'm getting over. So you know what? I don't care if you don't agree with me. That's fine. Doesn't hurt me. And if you want to talk, both sides of an issue in love, I'm good with that. But I'm not going to try to change anyone's mind.
No,
I don't know.
I
Does
mean,
it sound like a cop out?
well, no, not a cop out, but I would say that, trying to force somebody else to change to what you're thinking, that's never gonna fly. It's never gonna fly, right? I mean, trying to force somebody to do it, no,
Mm-hmm.
that's being a Bible bully.
Oh, there you go. And
Oh,
hey, I don't think Jesus does that, or God himself doesn't force us
he
to
would
believe a
explain
thing.
his position, right? And I mean, Jesus did everything out of love, and
Yeah.
I don't know how he did it. To be quite honest, I have no clue how he did it. I am so far removed from that time frame and that culture that it's too hard for me to try to figure out how he
Mm-hmm.
did it, right?
And it's
That's
sandals, all in sandals.
and in San. Well, it's warmer over there. I mean, if it was here, it would be in mucklucks. So
Or Crocs. I think you would. Well, maybe not.
Crocs.
No, that'd be pretty bad.
Eee.
No, Jesus. Well, and I guess what are they? Birkenstocks.
Birkenstocks. Oh, back in the day. Yeah.
Well, some knockoff ones though, because he wouldn't spend that much.
Yeah.
That's a tangent, eh?
Yeah, that was quite the tangent. Yeah. So for myself, for being lightly salted, actually, I was pretty convicted after we did our talk last week, and God really convicted me with some stuff. And so there's I was asked probably a couple days before we did our podcast to go help somebody within our church move. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm just like, no, I'm way too busy. This is like, that's going to take time out of my day. I got to like schedule everything around that. And then I hear God in the background. It's like, yeah, but you're supposed to bring the God flavors of the world. You're supposed to be a light. And if you can't do this with the other Christians within your church, that's what we discussed. And that was the revelation from the last podcast that we had. And he's like, then you're going to suck at doing this with other people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm texting back. It's like, okay, so yes, I'm coming to help move so-and-so move. So that's a step for me to becoming lightly salted and trying to remember that I have to practice this stuff first within my church community, right? And that's something that I'm going to have to work on because a lot of times we are very, very selfish with our times and our needs and stuff. And yeah. So I gotta remember to not be so selfish, especially since I know that it's on a Saturday and my Saturdays are chocked full of everything that I have to do in preparation for Sunday. So yeah, it's just, you know what? It's 3-4 hours of my day. It's in the morning. Yeah, I can do it. I can help out. Absolutely.
That's a hard one for me though. Moving to I'm not. Usually I'm pretty tired.
Yeah.
On the weekend. But then I remember what it's like when people help me and stuff, so I'm like, okay, I better.
Yeah,
and it always ends up being cool, like you have fun or whatever, and they give you pizza or whatever. It's good. Pizza's always good.
I'm not even worried about that with this person. I mean, she's a recovering drug addict who we're moving her to a place with somebody else that will help her, and she can afford to actually live in and afford to eat and stuff. Like one of the other members of our church is actually managing her finances for her because she knows she does not have the mental capability to do it in such a way without her winding up being homeless yet again. So this is one person in our church that we can help. And I mean, we're not a huge church right now as it is. I mean, like most churches, like post COVID there, I said it, and we're after 30 seconds in. So yeah, YouTube's not really going to care now. So post COVID, I mean, we're still stuck in the middle of this thing. 2 years in, thank you very much. That we have maybe 20% of the people in our church actually attending. So we went from, I'd say 100, 120, 140 people down to like 20, maybe people. So give or take 20%. And that seems to be pretty average talking to a lot of other churches. But the interesting thing is that our online Zoom call this past week, we had probably about half of the people that actually attended on Zoom for our church were actually yeah, so like half the population of the church was actually on Zoom, and the other
Wow,
half was actually in person. So I mean, yeah,
that's
we're
pretty
trying
wild.
to we're trying to embrace the whole hybrid church thing where we're doing both, so we can do it live on Zoom as well. So
It's
that's how it's going to have to go, right?
I have compassion for churches to figure something out because it's hard, and not all of them have a technological guy that can help them figure out all this stuff. They're just I've seen churches that use an iPhone or whatever, and
Hey,
that's
if
it.
that's
Hey,
what you got,
that's all I got.
that's
That's
what you
all I
do.
can do. Yeah. So
Yeah. I mean, that's the easiest, most simple way to do it. Why not? I mean, you have it. You use the technology that you have at your disposal. I mean, our church personally does not have the technology for it. I have the technology for it that I'm bringing to the church.
that's right.
So it's like, yeah, my this camera, my laptop all gets taken in there, and because like our church's laptop that's in there is meant just for overheads, and that's pretty much what it'll do. I mean, it is so old. It's still running like Windows. What was before 7? It actually
Vista.
might just be. No, it is 7. It's Windows 7. I
Yeah, I
never
think
upgraded.
Vista's not even supported anymore, but 7 is
No,
so rough.
no, no. And 7, well, I did get a notification on the church's computer that it can be updated to Windows 10. You can update to Windows 10, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm pretty sure that our
Yeah.
overhead program that we have will probably crash because it wasn't. There was like notes on it before saying don't upgrade to Windows 10 until you like upgrade your program, and it's like last time I tried to upgrade the program, they were like, your license is expired, and so I guess we're not updating our church's computer.
Let's go back to overheads, actual overheads.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, but
Remember that?
yeah, no, now our church is actually going to be. I have to put together a list of like, this is the kind of laptop that we need, like specs and stuff like that, so that we can actually start looking at them.
Hmm.
So then I don't have to take as much stuff with me every week because I've got like my guitar and gear, and then plus all the streaming gear that I also take. So yeah,
Need some roadies.
yeah,
That could be a
and
ministry.
you know what? I'm going to say this for this week. Watch our Discord. I'm going to add a Zoom link on there for my church.
Oh, you
So
should do that. Yeah, cool, for
if you
sure.
want to join our church on Sunday morning, 10:30. It's not Pacific time, Mountain time. 10:30 Mountain time, 10:30 Edmonton time. I think we're the same as Denver, Colorado.
Yeah, so you're on mountain tonight, right now, yeah.
Yeah, we're on Mountain time. So yeah, if you want to join us, you know what? Join our Discord. I'll put a link on there, and somebody either, and then maybe even you might see me. I'll be leading worship
Hmm.
this week. So
And then
and I'll be
come back next week, and if you could tell me what Daniel's wearing, we'll do a free giveaway of some. We'll do it. I'm kidding.
free giveaway. What do we?
I don't know.
It's like there's
I got some
here's
old
a
fantasy books.
here's a free coaster that was
There you
like
go.
a piece of like laminate flooring that you can get
An
at the sample bin
authentic,
and Home
more
Depot.
about Jesus coaster.
So that's a life hack right there. You go to Home Depot, you go to their vinyl flooring section, you pick up a sample because I was
Just give
looking
you
for
that,
samples anyway, and these are free. Instant coffee coaster,
There you
and
go.
it even has like a vinyl, like a rubber mat on the back of it. So
Oh, I could use those to make like rolling trays for dice.
ooh,
That's one of my little hobbies I like making.
ooh,
This one I made,
yeah,
that's out of a jam thing or something like.
nice.
And so you get some dollar store little rubbery things and glue them in the bottom, and yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah,
that's a nerd thing.
right on,
I got a few
right
of those.
on.
I could spend all
Cool.
day doing that, but it's not what I'm gonna do. So you guys got to tell us this if you're listening to this podcast, and I'm going to tell you more at the end. But we really do want to build a community around what we talk about. Not because we're trying to promote anything. It's because this helps us grow, and we want to help you grow. And what you have to say about this stuff matters to us. At least my personal kind of mantra lately has been, I don't want to hear famous super preachers anymore. They have some good stuff to say, obviously, but I find more growth and rewarding talks. That's why I do interviews and stuff with regular everyday Christians, because I grow a little stronger every time I do it. We want to know what you have to say, and I think that's what makes the church grow. Not super pastors.
But I'll do an interview with super pastors.
Yeah, that's right. You could do that. Who's
will.
first on your list? If you actually,
I do have
you
a
have
few
a
people
dream
on
list?
my list. I do have a list of people that actually I want to get a hold of, and I wouldn't call them super, like, they're not part of mega churches, but they to me they are pastors and other church people.
They might be more well known though.
They are well known within, I would say, within the Vineyard community. First off, and yeah, I would say with yeah, more so within the Vineyard community, and some other church leaders in other denominations probably would also know these people. But yeah, and actually one of them actually has her own podcast. So yeah, so maybe we can trade off doing interviews for each other.
Yeah,
I don't know.
you can get on her podcast.
I would have to. Yeah. Well, I mean, she is way more biblically knowledge than I am, and she is actually the pastor, and that's the main reason why I want to get her, because I mean, especially with us trying to be like equal, like having a lot of like equal rights and women as pastors and stuff, she would be perfect for it. So yeah, I would very much like to get her. I haven't contacted her at all yet, so but if people within my congregation or the Vineyard Church in Canada, they will probably have guessed who I'm talking about. So,
well, now I'm curious. Don't tell me.
I won't. It'll be a
I'll
surprise.
figure it out, and then
yeah, that'll be a surprise.
Tammy Faye Baker.
No, you didn't guess it. Yeah.
That was a low blow. That's the old me.
Old you, yeah.
Well, that's cool. So, I'm excited about that.
Yeah. The other thing I grabbed was Brandy has, like, when she was in school, she had this huge Bible.
Side by side, so that's 2 versions,
side by side. That's like 4 versions.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I've seen one.
So it's like NIV, NLT, the New King James, and the Message all on one page.
Wow. How do they fit the Message on the same? That's funny.
Well, I mean, it's just like 4 columns of each.
Because that's so wordy.
So you got like from the new NIV, New Living, King James
is so much more concise. Eh? Look at that.
Yeah, look at how much smaller the New King James is for the exact same passage that's in the Message.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. All the extra. Yeah.
So I was like, oh yeah, right. Because yeah, when she was going to Bible school, that's what we had got her, because they're like, no, you should really get this Bible. So I'm like, oh yeah, we'll get it anyway, right? It's like, not like we don't have like 50 Bibles in. Well,
that was before you had smartphones.
48.
Like crazy.
Yeah. Sometimes I do prefer going to the analog version.
Yeah. I think if I went to Bible school now, I just want an iPad.
Yeah.
Then I could have all that there. But then I don't know. Maybe they don't let you have Wi-Fi because they're worried you're going to get influenced by the internet or whatever.
Because the internet is of the devil.
I don't know. See, this is old school. Like when I went, we couldn't have our hair long and the girls had to wear skirts, and yeah, so there was a whole different ball of wax.
You couldn't have a deck of cards.
Yeah, no.
You had to sign a thing saying that you wouldn't drink any alcohol while you're going to school there. Yeah. Pretty
wild. So let's get into this thing.
Sure. Today we are talking about the fulfillment of the law.
Jesus and the law.
Jesus and the law. Breaking the law, breaking the law.
Breaking the what? That's what every time he does that in concert. When I saw him, breaking the what? And everyone goes, law. It's so funny.
That's
Okay,
so
I'm going to read NLT, Matthew 5, 17 to 20. Don't misunderstand why I have come. I did not come to abolish the law of Moses or the writings of the prophets. No, I came to accomplish their purpose. I tell you the truth, until heaven and earth disappear, not even the smallest detail of God's law will disappear until its purpose is achieved. So, if you ignore the least commandment and teach others to do the same, you will be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But anyone who obeys God's laws and teaches them will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. But I warn you, unless your righteousness is better than the righteousness of the teachers of religious law and the Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. There's lots in there.
Yeah, this was up for much debate in my household.
Yeah, I kind of chatted with Brandy on a little bit here and there, back and forth on Discord.
Yeah, and on the Discord, there was actually a good row going on this passage as well. And I was like, oh, good, this is what we want.
Yeah,
this is what we
I
want.
want to see some different approaches to what this might mean. Or one of I think the biggest question that was brought up was someone mentioned that the law wasn't written for them. And I jumped on that right away because I, as an ex-fundy, dispensationalist, that was my go-to. And we used the expression, "That's not my mail." So yeah, I could read that, but that's not my mail. That wasn't sent for me. And it was always like a write-off in the sense that. But then there's also context involved. So the Apostle Paul wrote epistles, which are just letters to churches. He didn't write them for me. He wrote to the church of Colossae or Philippi. So they're not directly written to me, but they're written for me in the sense that we believe that he did it influenced by the Holy Spirit, so those things can help me in my Christian life. So it's kind of a mix of stuff, but I definitely wouldn't go so far as to say that the Old Testament law doesn't ever apply to me. It doesn't. But I guess it can be complicated for some. What do you think?
Like I said, this was a hotly debated topic within our house over the last few days. But I believe that God's law, like it said right there, it's not going to pass away. I mean, like heaven and earth are still going to be around, and even after that, God's law is still going to be around. So then it comes down to, but what is God's law? Because, like, I mean, that was one of the debates Brandy and myself were having. Was like, what is the law then? I mean, is it just like the book of Leviticus? Like, where is it? Where I don't get this. I like for myself, like personally, I'm not understanding like what law or what's God's law, and digging into like even into some of Jesus's teachings. It's like I think after this is when some of the Pharisees and Sadducees and them all came up to Jesus and they're like, okay, so which is the greatest law? Because that was after he did this speech that they came up to him and they're like, so which is the greatest law? And he looks at them and he says, well, love God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your understanding, every fiber of your being. Love God. 2, love everybody else just as much as you love yourself and you love God. Everything else hangs on this. And I'm like, there we go. That's all this. If we do those 2 simple things, simple, let's just say simple. It's not simple for us to do this because I mean, loving everybody else is it's very very difficult. Because we're human and we're fallible.
Yeah, there's a lot of
We will
people that
fail at
are
this.
hard to love in the world.
Yeah, I mean, on a daily basis, I have customers. I'm like, you idiot.
It's like,
I'm
really?
like, no, no, no. I have to love them.
I mean, if we want to be realistic from what it's, I mean, Jesus says the law of Moses or the writing of the prophets. So I guess that's the Torah. So
That
if
would
you
be
want
the
to be
Torah.
technical, so he doesn't,
Yeah,
yeah, it doesn't mean the Ten Commandments or just
yeah.
Leviticus. He means
Not just the
all the
Ten Commandments.
stuff that God's been telling his people and that they've written down, that they have on record
Yeah.
or through
Well,
tradition or whatever.
I believe somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe the Torah was actually just the first 5 books of the Bible.
That's the
Uh,
Pentateuch
okay, I thought that
that we
was
call it, but they have a name for it too, which I have not looked up.
yeah.
But I have friends that are
I
into
thought that was
that
the
would do
Torah
the Torah.
was like those first 5 books was like the law, and that's what the Torah basically stood for. As far as my understanding. Now, looking at that, that's Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy.
Mm-hmm.
And I can totally understand that that's why that would be the laws. But then Pharisees and Sadducees and stuff started adding to the laws later on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where Jesus,
Yeah,
you
it
know,
is. Yeah.
Jesus's time, in Jesus's time, they started coming up with all these extra laws, or they had all these extra laws added to God's law. So this is where a lot of it started to get confusing and everything else, and that's why God's like, or Jesus was like, 2. You do these 2, everything else, including all the ones that you guys are making up, this will cover it. Sound about right?
Yeah, and that's what I believe. But then he has this warning in verse 19 that if you ignore this or teach others to do the same, then you'll be called least in the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah,
So
if
I
you're
mean,
not
I
following
guess
the
people,
laws.
there's enough of this stuff, enough of this in here to people will get the feeling that, yeah, I know this is something we have to latch onto. This, but
But
I think we're missing the whole big point about what he means by accomplishing their purpose or the fulfillment of the law. So why was the law given in the first place?
well, you look
That's
at
something that is not as easy to grasp, I think, as some people think, because they see it as a way of living or God's regulations for how to live or whatever, so that we could meet his standard or whatever. And it's not that simple, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, when you look back from the time of Moses, when I guess the first law came down on the tablets, right, or the Ten Commandments, but probably would have been the first laws.
Mm-hmm.
So you had a people who were far removed from Abram. So you had Abram, who had the first covenant with God,
Mm-hmm.
with the animal sacrifices and stuff, and then you had Abraham had Isaac. Isaac then had Jacob, who later became known as Esau, or no,
Israel.
Jacob became Israel.
Jacob.
So Jacob became Israel. Esau was his brother.
His brother, yeah, the hairy one.
Right. So definitely not me. So Israel then, that was the 12 tribes. The 12 tribes were in Egypt, and then that was the Israelites that carried on with the commitment that God had to Abraham and Abraham and his family. But they had been so far removed from them generations throughout this. I mean, even Moses, when he went back to them, he was like 40 years out from when he fled Egypt. He was like old when he came back. So you're looking at generations who didn't know God, weren't practicing their Jewish religion, as far as I am aware. And so when he brought them out into the wilderness, into up to the mountain where Moses had this revelation with God, because I was like, okay, you told me to go get them, so I went and got them, and I brought them back to you because I don't know what to do next. That's why he brought them back to the same mountain that the burning bush was on, and he's like, okay, now what? And then God's like, okay, fine. You guys have been in Egypt for a really long time. So this is how you're going to have a right relationship with me. Here's some basic rules. Let's just do 10. Let's start with 10. There's some basic rules. Let's start with these. Okay, because I want you guys to get closer to me. This is how you're going to get closer to me. And I also want you to, and this is where they kind of failed at this, I want you to share this information with the rest of the world. These laws. These are laws on how to get closer to the God who created everything, the God who led them out of Egypt, the God who totally broke Egypt's back doing it in such a way that Pharaoh was like, because Pharaoh was God in their eyes, in the Egyptians' eyes. Pharaoh was God. And then Pharaoh thought he was God until he was met with God's real power. And he broke their back. So this is where God was like, okay, you got to take these, share them with everybody. This is how you have a right relationship with God. And unfortunately, they sort of kept it to themselves, and we know all the rest of the story that happened, and up until Jesus. So, and that's why Jesus had to come to sort of fulfill that law. This is in my understanding, in my opinion, this is how Jesus had to fulfill the law, is by actually showing up and, okay, we got to take this to the whole world, guys. Like, come on, we got to take this to the whole world. And you guys are still sitting here with this. Like, you've been sitting on it and you've been twisting it. So for your own political or power struggles or power gains.
Mm-hmm.
That's my thought. I don't know.
There is prophecies about even about Jesus being a light to the Gentiles, which they wouldn't have seen, right? I don't know why they skip over that. Yeah, I've had my thinking reworked a bit about the purpose of the law in the first place. And it's more a matter of perspective, though. It's not about the details of the whole thing. Because some people can get caught up in whether, like, why did there have to be blood sacrifices and things like that? Well, because I mean, if it comes down to it, God's flat out said that he doesn't desire the blood of bulls and goats. Like, he says that. So there has to be bigger reasons than what we just see on the surface about got to kill something. So Jesus had to get killed, and so God sent him down so he could get killed, and it's just more complicated than that. But in regards to what God is setting up with the Jews initially, I've started to see it, and this I've got from listening to other podcasts and things, that it's the overwhelming thing is that God desires closeness to his people. So
Yes.
so because of who he is and who we are, whether you want to call it holiness or whatever, and it's not just because we're so wicked and sinful and that God just, when he sees us, he wants to throw up because we're so gross to him, that we have to have something there, or else God will just zap us dead because he's so perfect. He just wants to kill us. That's the perspective I grew up with and got used to.
Yeah. Well, and when you're looking at, especially at the Old Testament, that did happen, and it also happened in the New Testament.
And it happens, but is it because God detests us so much that he wants to get us out of his sight? And I don't see it that way anymore. I see it as God set up all these Levitical laws and things because more than anything, he wanted to be close to his people. And he
Yes.
had to do that in order to gain that closeness with them. And that changes your whole perspective. It's not about we're so detestable that if we want to get to God, he's busy off and doing his own thing. Okay, I get it. You want to talk to me. So here's this set of rules. But if you mess up in one of these things, you're screwed.
Mm.
And I don't see that now. I see that as, well, it's pretty complicated obviously, for these people to live a certain way, to be able to fulfill whatever God wanted. But all that does is lend more to what Jesus did when he actually accomplished the purpose of the law, which was to get God closer, or to gain us access to God.
Yeah.
For
And
God to
I
be
think,
able to be with us. God with us,
yeah.
Emmanuel. When Jesus died, the temple veil was torn in two.
Yes.
And the symbolism in that is so unbelievable that, and I
Yeah.
think we don't get it yet. I don't think a lot of us
No.
understand that we can approach the throne boldly,
Well, it's open.
and not to everyone, and not just
The,
Christians, not just,
yeah.
it's
It
not
was
just,
open.
okay, well, I said the sinner's prayer, I pretty much go to church regularly, and I only listen to modern Christian music, so God's good with me. But the other people better clean up a bit. You better do some sacrifices if you want to come to God, because God is holy and he'll zap you dead. That's the attitude I used to portray, and I've seen that, and I think that's bad theology, to be honest.
Mm.
Now, I think I had bad theology about that. I think I see a God that desires closeness to people, and
Yeah.
went to great lengths to make it happen.
Yeah. And I think with in that regard, Jesus fulfilled the law in the fact that his sacrifice was the perfect sacrifice, the perfect blood sacrifice to atone for all sins for everybody. Right, which is why the temple, the curtain in the temple, which separated the holy of holies, the holiest place, that if you went in there, you did die. Because I mean, the priest, if he didn't do everything correctly, he died in there. Like, that's why they tied a rope around their waist when they actually entered into the holy of holies to offer the sin offerings to God.
And they had bells on their outfits.
Yeah, so they could tell if the guy was alive or not,
Yeah.
and then if he died, they knew to yank him out, right? And so it's, when Jesus died, I think he fulfilled this part of the law, but God's law is still going to be around until heaven and earth pass away. I don't think heaven and earth passed away when Jesus died or was resurrected. I don't think but he did fulfill or complete that part of the law and opened up. And so now it wasn't so much wrath or anything like that would come against the Jewish people. I think what it was, it's not the wrath that will come out, like whether it was whether Jesus was doing it, or not Jesus, God was doing it, or other people were oppressing the Jewish nation. God sent them in there to oppress the Jewish nation for something or the other. Now it's an open invitation to the Holy of Holies. Jesus fulfilled that, and now we are living under the mercy of God. Like, we're not going through as many hard times because of the mercy of God. I mean, I don't know how it is in the rest of the world, but I mean, we're under God's grace and mercy now through Jesus. I think that's what he fulfilled in that part. Like, he made the perfect sin offering. And he was, yeah. That's what I got. That's what I got for, like, Jesus fulfilling the law, is that he was the perfect sacrifice.
It's accomplished. what was meant for them. And then yet he still says it's not abolished. So that I think that's
Yeah.
what he's making sure. He's preparing them for what he's going to say. Because he's going to get into, and our next time we talk will be specifically about Jesus teaching about anger. So he says, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
He's heard it say, don't kill anyone, don't murder them. But I'm saying if you're mad at him, if you're angry with them, you're just as guilty.
Yeah.
So he's going to amp it up now. So in this, he's saying, hey, there's laws and stuff, but I accomplished, he hadn't accomplished it yet, but he had said, I'm come to do that. But yet, he's setting such a high standard. It's like, it's not the thing you're doing, it's what you're thinking. It's your whole attitude I need to change. And that's that'll be kind of a convicting one, that one.
And that's just it. I mean, you look at the rest of the Sermon on the Mount, and here's some laws, parables, whatever, and it's more just getting into, I think, because we're just coming out of the Beatitudes, we're just coming into, okay, now we're going to strip this down. Now I'm going to tell you some heavy things, but let's try to make these into practical applications. Let's try to make this a little bit more practical. Let's try to understand how we're going to be able to do this. So, which is why he goes into different parables and proverbs later on, and that's why he taught mostly in parables and proverbs. I believe, anyway, is that he's just trying to teach us how to do this. So, don't think that I saw that people were like, then we're no longer under the law. Well, yeah, we sort of are, but we're under a lot of mercy and grace. I think more so than we're under the law so much. And I mean, ever since Jesus's resurrection and the tearing of the wall, the tearing of that, and since Jerusalem's been destroyed, there has not been a single sin offering in the history of Israel since. So we're looking at 2,000 years. How can they do that then? Only with Jesus being the perfect sacrifice, even if they don't believe it. So that was something that I remember the gentleman from Jews for Jesus announcing. He's like, okay, well, if if Jesus' sacrifice wasn't enough, how come we no longer have any sacrifices in Jerusalem?
No temple.
Yeah, but they could do it anywhere, right? Oh, they'll say that it's not at the temple and stuff, but there was none after that.
Yeah, before that temple, before Solomon built it, you had a tent. So
exactly. So.
And I got a book in my house. Well, I got multiple books in my house that can tell you how to build one. All the specifications, everything.
Oh, exactly, right.
Yeah, so.
And then Brandy even gave me this book. It's like called Living God's Word. And that's probably backwards on your screen. I'm not too sure. Might be. I don't know. I'll see it in about 10 seconds, 20 seconds when YouTube finally catches up with that. Anyway, and this is something she highlighted for like this whole God's law. Yeah, looking at YouTube, it's backwards. Okay. And this is something that she highlighted, and I just want to read this to you. Those who want to enter the kingdom must embrace Jesus's righteousness, a heart righteousness that fulfills God's holy standards and far surpasses the hypocritical piety put forth by some of the religious leaders of Jesus's day. Jesus' intention to fulfill the Old Testament law is clearly spelled out in Matthew 5:21-48, where he applies kingdom righteousness in 6 scenarios. So this is what we're going to be coming on later. 6 scenarios dealing with murder, adultery, divorce, vows, retaliation, and loving one's enemies. So we were talking about this, and we're going to get into this in the next few episodes. Here, Jesus stresses the true purpose and intention of the Old Testament as it is fulfilled by his life, ministry, and teachings, Jesus is the culmination and completion of the first part of the great story.
Culmination. Fulfillment. I like that. Before we run out of time, verse 20. Why does he add this warning in there? I warn you, unless your righteousness is better than the righteousness of the teachers of religious law and Pharisees, you will never enter in the kingdom of heaven. Is that because they thought they're on the top tier of righteousness, like they're doing it all right. They're doing all the things. So why is he saying you got to be better than them even? And how can they even accomplish that?
Well, I think that's what he goes into in the next things too. Is like, okay, now this is how we're going to apply this. This is how you're going to become more righteous. This is still like the opening statements in his mission statement. And it's like, you know what? And yeah, and I mean, we're going to fail at it. I mean, Peter did for a long time. So,
but I mean, we got to see how. I don't know. I don't know. It just makes sense to me. So if I'm a hateful jerk my whole life, but I haven't killed anyone, what's the big deal, right? That's sort of precursor for next time. But I mean, okay, or if I'm, you know what, I've never slept around on my wife, but I'm a pervert all my life, and I'm, doing all the things that I shouldn't be doing in that department. Jesus is saying, your righteousness has to be better. I guess he called them hypocrites too, right? So they would have been.
Oh, he totally did.
So yeah, I think if we have this discussion and don't talk about hypocrisy in the sense that our faith, our belief in God, and our practice in what being a God follower, Jesus follower is, if it's fake, if it's just a set of rules that I could be technical about, but still in my heart I'm a vile, terrible person, what makes you think that's what God wants?
Oh, exactly, right. I mean, how many Christian artists have fallen hard, or how many pastors have been found sexually abusing people, or cheating on their wives, or cheating on their spouse, right? How many times does that happen? And you know what? The world is watching, and the world points it out fast, really fast.
Yeah, and they probably should.
Yeah,
point out that kind of hypocrisy. It's ridiculous.
yeah.
But then I can't, like I've said, the new version of me is not gonna get in that fight and point the finger. I'm gonna use the words of Jesus, and he's saying, "I warn you." So he's warning me. I gotta do better than that, and not worry about what their trashy version of being a follower of God is, and just up my game.
And that's what Jesus was saying there. It's like, you got to up your game.
Yeah, up your game. That's what
You got to be better than these religious leaders who are also ripping you off.
Is that what it says in the message? Yo, bros, you got to up your game.
That's the new message for gamers. Yo, your boy here.
Yeah, GG.
GG. From 20. So from 20, even in the message is like, trivialize even the smallest item in God's law, and you will only have trivialized yourself. But take it seriously. Show the way for others, and you will find honor in the kingdom. Unless you do far better than the Pharisees in the matters of right living, you won't know the first thing about entering the kingdom.
Yeah, and that does lead in, like, we're doing a break here now, and in most Bibles there's a paragraph, but none of that's in the original book of Matthew, right? It doesn't have chapters and
No,
verses, so it would have led naturally into that.
which will be the topic for the next episode.
Next few episodes.
Next few.
But
Ooh.
it'll be fun. So what do you want to take from all this as far as the rest of your week? How's this going to affect you in a positive way? How's it going to make you think?
Because I mean, this is you know, that's the great thing about doing this podcast, is that it's actually challenging me to become a better to live this out better. It's you know, I am on a public forum saying that yes, I'm a Christian and I am really trying to figure this stuff out. So I have to kind of figure out that, you know, yeah, I'm not going to be under God's law in so much as, you know, the sacrifices, and I'm not going to set up a stone altar outside of my garage here and start sacrificing animals. I'm not a priest anyway, from the tribe of Levi, so I wouldn't be able to. But I am going to live under God's grace and mercy, and I am going to keep the two laws that Jesus said are the most important, foremost in my mind, where it's you know, love God with everything that you have, get into a right relationship with Him, love everybody else just the same. So, and that second part is going to be just as hard. I'm not going to say that loving
Your
God
neighbor
is
covers
easy.
all the bases anyway.
Yeah,
I'm not going to murder someone that I love.
I'm not going to covet. I'm not going to
all those things.
Yep.
If I'm showing love, yeah.
That's right. So that's what I'm taking away from this, is like, do better. Do better.
Well,
that might be simplifying it a lot, but you know.
And also we got to remember, it's not about God accepting us like that. So I'm just once again reminded of what Jesus did, and what it wasn't something I could earn. So it's not in this passage, but there's so much of it in the book of Romans and stuff, and in Paul's writings, that this isn't something we've earned. It's not something that we deserve. But God loves us so much that He did it for us. Yeah. So then we're so grateful that we want to fulfill this. We want to keep living this way, the way Jesus showed us how to live, in love. And well, I guess that's what's inspiring me to try not be such a judgy old turd. Right?
Do better.
Do better. Don't be such a turd.
Do better.
Write that down.
Be the type of Christian that you wish that you wish you would run into.
Yeah. I'll quote that somewhere. Write it down. Well, this was good. Okay, yeah. But I need to stress a few things before we sign off. Again, about the building a relationship with our listeners. Discord is the best place. If that scares you, that we can help you with that. And on Twitter, I'll be posting things throughout the week. I'm not on other media, but I know that some other people are. So, but in order to share this stuff, because I'm not on Facebook, I might need you guys to do some of that. So share this stuff. Like I said, it's not because more viewers bring us funds or win a competition. We just want more people to know about this through word of mouth. So we're counting on you to do that. But if not, that's fine. I'm not pressuring anybody. But I do want to know what you think about these things we talk about, even if you completely disagree. If you're polite, I'm cool with that. And I want to know what you think. So that's on our Discord. So if you want to find this Discord magical thing, I put links in our Twitter. So if you're following More About Jesus on Twitter, then you're good. You'll find it there. If you're watching this on YouTube or listening on Spotify or Apple, there's links to our Discord and that as well. So just click on that, and we won't push you aside. We won't make fun of you. It's a pretty cool place. And it's simple. I like it better than Facebook because there's not a bunch of arguing people there. I can kick out the people
that. We have more control.
That's right. Sounds kind of communist, but it's not. It's not at all.
We have a really good community there, so
yeah.
Join in the
I'd love to say that it's growing, but it hasn't grown a bit for a little bit. So, one person, please, just join our Discord so I could say to next time advertise, join our growing community. And I already said that we're on Twitter. I'm at Alan68 on Twitter. Daniel's Danny Boy Dunbar. Reach out. We want you to be a part of this conversation. And I think that's all. Oh, you have an email, but nobody uses it. But you could be the first, and you'll get that free coaster that Daniel has as a prize if you're our first emailer. moreaboutjesus21@gmail.com.
Yes.
All right. So I'm Al.
I am Daniel.
And we will be back to talk more about Jesus.
All right. Love everybody out there. God bless all.